Hey everyone. So I had a lovely Saturday evening and Sunday morning. My Katie and I and Anna Lise actually went up to my parents' house in Santa Fe, spent the night, celebrated my mom's birthday, which is today, and it was all wonderful. We had an incredible conversation, and we had just a lovely time. Felt like we got more time than we usually get when we're blazing through town with a toddler who has needs. This time it felt very relaxed. And I had a conversation with my father, which also in some way indirectly impacts all of you, all the people who watch this post, because my father was being very acknowledging of the post and saying, that he sees a lot of value taking place here in the way that I'm going about it, in the reflection that I'm doing, in the process that I'm in. And then he said, but I wonder sometimes why you use the word people, why you say, hey people, or hello people, instead of hello friends. And I took a beat to think about that, because I was like, interesting. It's not that I had never thought about how I address all of you. Hey people, I say. But I had not really tracked or clocked for myself what I'm saying with that word. And I will admit, or I detected when my dad asked me that question, I detect an ever so slight deflection from the truth, which is that, and it's actually something that has evolved over time, because it's a deflection from the truth in the sense that those of you who watch this post regularly are not just people to me. You are friends. You're people who are resonating deeply with what I'm, with the process that I'm in. You almost invariably have your own process that may be analogous or may be different, but it certainly intersects in some way of finding value in what I'm observing and what I'm trying to usher forth through this practice. And so you're friends of mine. You're not, and what I realized was, I'm saying people almost kind of like because I don't know what else to say, or as though it's intended for any random people. But the thing is, at this point, having done this for the length of time that I've done it, I sort of know whom I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for the people who are engaging. And saying hello friends, hey friends, is a way of acknowledging that. And I think that's something that my dad was picking up on in this kind of very subtle and almost like easy to overlook kind of way. But I appreciated that. So, friends, I'm going to be referring to you that way. There's also a really interesting parallel to Quakerism, which is the closest thing to an organized religion that I ever grew up internalizing or engaging with in any way. And Quakerism is essentially a very, very progressive and open form of Christian, it's almost like Christian philosophy without the dogma. It's a really interesting religion, and I don't call myself a Quaker. I certainly don't practice anything that could be called Quakerism, but I do resonate with the underlying philosophy and the principles. And I did go to a boarding school for a couple years that was a Quaker school, and so it's come into my life and been influential for sure. And in Quakerism, we refer to each other as friends. The Quakers are called the Friends. My school was in the Friends League. So there's a nice parallel there. There's a sort of, I mean it in a very non-religious way, but I just noticed, that's kind of a fun reference to have. And then something, a further step, our conversation kind of continued. This is me basically downloading my conversation with my dad. But we were talking about the Cabaret and the process that I'm in there, how it's going, and sort of what my intentions are. And it's no secret to any of you, or at least maybe not to most of you, maybe to some of you it is, but this might be something I haven't explicitly talked about with you, or I don't think I've talked about it on this post, but the Cabaret is almost like an outgrowth of this post, in the sense that this post has taught me and continues to teach me what a consistent practice of reflection and expression turns into over time, over a really consistent time period. Maintaining a practice like this creates a certain kind of movement within me. It has created real movement in my life, because every day I come to this place and express something of, it's like I connect. From the very beginning, it's been a connection to source. It's been a connection to something beyond myself. And as I've said any number of times, half the time, at least, when I say things on this post, I don't even know necessarily what I'm saying or doing. I mean, I often have an intention behind it. I always have the intention of connecting to something that feels authentic, but very frequently the things that all of you will pick up on and resonate with and find deeply meaningful, either individually or sometimes it's multiple people, are not the things that I formulated my intention to say. It's the things that come in through the cracks. It's the things I'm doing completely unconsciously that are coming from another source that's not my mind, and that my mind, that they're bypassing my mind on their way out into the world, because they don't have to go through my mind. They might want to come through my voice so that someone else can hear them, but my mind understanding what I'm doing is not necessary to the process. So, but having discovered what that practice does for me, the Cabaret is almost an extension of it. It's different, but I'm approaching it with the understanding that I've developed of what a really consistent practice does. What showing up and truly connecting and just offering what I have and practicing being in the space of sharing that, what that does for me, and so the Cabaret is it's like an extension, an outgrowth, but it also it's like a higher level version of that, because I make it, it's a different context, it's a different type of expression that I'm going for. And so anyway, we were talking about that. We were talking about the cabaret and how it's an outgrowth of this and this process. And I was explaining how valuable the practice is. I was kind of going through all the stuff I just said. And I was saying that I intend for it to be a practice. I intend for it to be something that grows and evolves. And I was kind of like riffing on my intentions for it. And my father just said, "You want." He kind of like didn't cut me off, but he sort of like offered me. He said, "You want to be faithful. You want to be faithful." And I thought, my God, what a perfect word. What a perfect way to summarize my intention there. Because that rings so true, and it rings so there's something so authentic there. I was talking about how I may want to evolve the process and build on it, or prepare more, or construct more, write more about what I'm doing in advance. There's a whole developmental process that I am certainly only at the very beginning stages of, but that I'm starting to imagine. And I was kind of going into all that, but I was also saying, but I don't want that big I don't want all these ideas of how I can develop it to slow me down in the doing of it. Because one of my favorite ways of procrastinating is to think about what I'm doing. Just think about it. Just consider the possibilities, and then think it through, and then plan it, and then think through the plan, and then rethink the plan. I can do that till the cows come home. And it's a great way to never do it. And so knowing that about myself, showing up and just having a deadline that's like, these deadlines and they're going to come fast. You're not going to have 4 weeks in between each one, is a great way to get somebody like me out, going, moving. And if I show up with nothing because I have a week where I didn't prepare, then I show up with nothing, but I show up. I don't not show up. And again, ideally, I hope to build in a developmental process. But just hearing my dad say, "Faithful." You want to be faithful. I just thought that was a beautiful. That gives me a palpable sense of what my emotional intent is, over and above all the other logistical and intellectual and musical intentions I might have and I might explore. There's a kind of there's something so summarizing about that. And it honors both my practice and my journey, and it honors all of you. It honors the fact that it's happening for friends. It's happening for not just me, So yeah, that was my Sunday morning conversation with my dad. It was a good one. So, thanks for watching, friends. I appreciate you all so much. I say it every time, but this process is just, you are becoming such a big part of my life as this particular practice unfolds and I discover what I'm doing here. And I appreciate you more than I can say. Thank you so much. Love you. I'll see you tomorrow.